Hi and welcome to Antoinette's Training. On today's episode we're going to be looking at treats that you can give your dog during training. Now for this video we're going to define treats as any reward that you give your dog during training, so it doesn't necessarily have to be food. However, we will be looking at the types and size of food you can give your dog and also other types of rewards like games, toys and massages. Okay, so let's start off with food rewards. In front of me here I have Shiloh and Halo's normal biscuits. Now it's okay to use their everyday biscuits provided that they're actually a reward for them and they're still going to work for them. Some dogs easily get sick of this food and they want something different. Now be careful with the sizes of this food. If I was to give Shiloh Halo's food as a reward, he would take a long time to eat it and that kind of just disrupts the training of it. So often what I'll do even with his ones, I just get a knife and cut them in half so they're smaller and a little bit quicker to eat. Okay, so next let's talk about my favourite food reward to use when I'm training my dogs. And that's these straps here. And I love these straps because you can rip them up into any size treat that you want. Now this is great for when you have a big dog and a small dog because they're going to need different size treats. You rip them up, there's no mess, and you can put it, if you don't use a whole roll, if you don't use a whole strap, you can put it back into the cupboard for later and use it up later. There are also this type here that you can rip up, but they're a lot harder. They're like liver treats and beef treats, and I just find that these can get really messy, and because a lot of them already come broken, you get all of this kind of little dusty stuff, and it just ends up being really hard to feed your dogs because they're not always the size that you want them. Over here I have some other rewards that you may give your dog that are really not good for training. We've got some cookies here, some marrow bones, some different types of bones and pig ears, and then some big sticks. These are not good for training because they're going to take your dog too long to eat them, and they're also going to be just too chewy and too distracting. When I give my dogs food rewards, what I do is I just take whatever I've given them that day out of their nightly food, so that they're always getting the same amount of food per day. So if I do a really large training session, then their tea is going to be really small. Now, depending on how picky your dog is and how often you train them, you might choose to use a variety of treats. If it's a larger training session, you'll find that your dog will work for longer if you have a variety of treats that they're working for. If they're short, sharp training sessions, then they're not going to mind just one treat. Other treats that you can use are things like cooked pasta, leftover meat, anything basically that dogs are allowed to eat. Let's move on to looking at different games that you can play to reward your dog. Okay, an obvious one that lots of people use is frisbee, so let's give it a try. Sit. Go get it. Another one Shiloh really likes to do is fetch. Sit. Shake. Good boy, go get it. If your dog gets too excited around the treat, just hide it behind your back. Boop. Hey, come. Boop. Good boy. Tug. Tug. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Release. Give. Good boy. Another method that you can use to reward your dog during training is just a simple, quick mini massage. Now, if you haven't seen my video on dog massages yet, check it out with this link here for some little mini ones that you can do. So in this circumstance, I'm just touching Halo's feet because Halo really doesn't like having his feet touched. So we're trying to address that issue and get him to like it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to reward him with a little ear massage. And this method can be used for any type of training that you're trying to do with your dog, as long as your dog enjoys it. If it's something that's going to stress them out or excite them too much, then probably don't use it. Okay, just some final little tips and tricks for rewarding your dog with treats. Don't use anything that's going to excite them too much. You want to keep your dog fairly calm during training so that their focus is on what they're doing. Make sure you're keeping things interesting. If you're training your dog every single day, don't use the same boring treat. They're probably going to get sick of it. If your dog isn't responding to the treats and isn't interested in them during training, then they're obviously not good enough and you need to up the ante and find something that's going to work for your dog. Not every dog is the same. Every dog is going to require different types of treats. I hope you found this video useful and I'll see you next week.